Hello, welcome to the Craven Chronicles, your go-to podcast to discuss the highs, the lows, and everything in between supporting Fulham FC. Today, we'll be looking back at that deforestation against Nottingham Forest and looking ahead to Saturday's 3 p.m. clash with Crystal Palace. Now, I'm joined as ever by Oscar O'Kane. How are you doing, my friend?
Yeah, I'm good. I'm feeling a lot better than I did a few days ago, has to be said.
Yeah. We should explain, we're in a rogue location. We are in a classroom in a university, St. Mary's University. A little shout out, a little plug.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Oscar, do you want to let the viewers know?
Yeah, it was my birthday a couple of days ago, so the extensive drinking celebrations extended onto our normal recording day, and I shamefully admitted to Jon that I couldn't make it to the patch. So I've let myself down, I've let Jon down, I've let the patch down, but we move on. So we got to make do with the classroom, I guess.
You've let the viewers down.
I have.
My mate actually texted me saying, where the hell is the new episode? So I had to, Chris, I apologise.
I'm sorry, Chris.
It's here. And so you're feeling better now, yeah?
Oh, much better. And obviously I'm now a year wiser as well, so we'll bring on...
Happy belated birthday.
Thank you very much, my friend. Thank you. But I think lesson learned from the Guinness drinking excursions that were occurring on Wednesday.
Actually, I want to ask you, what's your hangover cure? Do you have one?
Mate, to be honest with you, I mean, honestly, put down a pint of water and chicken. That's
chicken?
For me, just a bit of chicken.
Hung chicken,
just a bit of like roast chicken or like fried chicken, any form of like that.
Sunday roast.
Yeah, like a Sunday roast, something like that. You know, I think at uni you'd have your pizzas or you'd have that. But I always think chicken for me just sorts me out in massive amounts of water. What about you?
I've got to say, guys, if you're listening, this is a top tip for you. It's all about the night before. if you can remember, just downing like 2 pints of water before bed.
Yes.
Maybe like a Barocca. If you enjoy the night a bit too much, then you might forget to do that. But honestly, just like caning water.
Barocca's a good shout. Barocca's a really good shout.
Yeah,
get the electrolytes back into your body. That's the thing.
And then, do you know what? I'll give Craven Chronicles audience, I'll give you this advice for free as well. The next day, I think it's important just to get out the house. Because the amount of times I've just like rotted in bed, just get yourself out there.
Yeah.
Honestly, but sometimes it's...
I did a day at Leeds where I literally stayed in bed all day and I felt absolutely just horrendous. Yeah. I agree with you. You've got to get out for fresh air.
Just get out.
Just wakes you up. Go for a walk or something.
Yeah, exactly.
Speaking
of hangovers,
the
Nottingham Forest team,
wow,
they look like they've been on a bit of a bender the night before because they weren't very good.
They were shocking.
What did Fulham make them look bad? What was your thoughts on the game?
So we were both at the game as well. It's good to mention that. So I did actually make it to Saturday. That was good. The game itself was brilliant. I thought it was a mixture of. I was quite disappointed with Forest. 3rd place in the league. We've been singing their praises all season. They've been playing some incredible football, but they lacked so much of a cutting edge. And actually, I think Fulham just completely schooled them. And obviously, we had our predictions before. I did actually say, I'd like to clarify that yes, I did miss our recording at the patch. Yes, I have let the viewers down, but I did get the correct score. I said 2-1 Fulham, and those dreams came true. Johnny went for a lukewarm draw.
Yeah, I went for a 1-1. Do you know what? It's yin and yang. You've got to have the kind of hopeful optimist and the kind of. Do you know what? I've seen the script too many times. Just let me down. But do you know what? We've said it before. We often do well against sides above us, and that proved to be. But I thought that the way they set up, we saw they had 5 at the back. Yeah. And I thought, God, this is going to be Southampton all over again. You know, it's just like a deep block, and they were very deep,
really deep.
But it wasn't effective. I don't think. We had a lot of joy in attack. We'll go through some individual performances. I thought as a team, we looked exceptional. Yeah. And I think we made Forest look average. If you had guessed they're 3rd in the league, you wouldn't believe it, would you? You'd have thought Fulham were 3rd in the league.
Yeah, I couldn't agree more. And I think it was really similar to the game that we saw at the City ground. We really frustrated them defensively. They didn't really create too many clear-cut opportunities. Obviously, we then got that penalty Raul scored. But in the game, I always think the biggest thing with Forest is their midfield in that kind of 4 in the park. I just thought they didn't do enough. I thought Anderson was good. I thought obviously Gibbs White is always good. But there wasn't enough protection, I think, for the defenders. And I think what Fulham did, which was really smart, that Marco did, is we had a situation where Milenkovic was sort of really, really tight on Raul. And we saw a lot in the opening exchanges. We were sort of punting it long, punting it kind of forwards, and it wasn't really doing too much. But what we had is a situation where Raul then dropped off a little bit deeper, which meant that their whole backline had to push up, and it meant it created all that space for Adama and Iwobi to run in behind. And Adama, that was his best game I've ever seen in a Fulham shirt. I mean, it was like every delivery that he did was spot on. Obviously, got the assist for the goal. But even before then and after then, when he absolutely cooked Nico Williams, I was right in front of it. It was brilliant. The crosses that he had for Raul and that second half shot that he had in Sells, I thought their keeper Sells was probably their man of the match. Could have been 4 or 5 or 6-1, I think, as well. So I was really, really impressed by the team performance. And to have done the league double on Forest and the league double in Newcastle is absolutely brilliant.
Yeah, I want to talk about Adama, and yeah, he was wonderful. We've seen him skin players. We know he can do that. But it is the final delivery. I think his crossing has improved a lot this season under Silva, but he loves that little jink onto his left.
Yeah,
that sort of floated on in. I find his crossing a little bit hopeful at times, but against Forest is on the money. And for the Smith Rowe goal, Smith Rowe didn't have to break stride, didn't have to even jump. It was just so perfect. Yeah, if he was a man of the match contender, I think he might have got it. But for me, best player on the pitch that afternoon was Sasa Lukic.
Yeah.
Both exceptional. To be honest with you, I could go through every single Fulham player. Maybe apart from Leno, because he didn't really have to do much.
Yeah. And Anderson had a good game as well. We've got to give him credit when we have criticised in the past.
Get on to Bassi in a second.
Yeah.
Castagni looked better. Berger, exceptional again. Thought Smith Rowe looked like he wanted it a bit more. The game was showing for the ball a bit more.
I think as well with Smith Rowe, it's especially when you look at the goal, he has to be doing that a lot more. I've always felt with Smith Rowe, he slightly dances around the penalty area. He's got to make those runs into the box to try and stretch it, and he gambled, and obviously it needed a perfect cross from Adama, which it was, luckily, and it was a great finish from Smith Rowe. So it was good for him to continuously to keep trying to get on the score sheet as well.
Yeah, shout out to Raul as well. He could have got a few goals, but on Lukic, my man of the match personally. 100% pass accuracy, 6 chances created, 5 possession won, 4 duels won, 3 touches in opposition box, 2 interceptions as well. Tackle. He was just magnificent. And we keep saying it, but what a bargain.
John, I was actually going to mention to you about Lukic. Do you think that he has been... We look at some of the signings we've had in the past. Palhinha, 20 million, obviously what he's then gone on to do. But Lukic was 8 million from Torino. Do you think he's been Fulham's best signing in the last 2 years?
In the last 2 years? That's a really good question.
Obviously, Joao has been incredible. But in terms of what we paid for him to what he has contributed on the pitch, and particularly this season, I actually think that he could be. Because Anderson, he's been a bit up and down, but he's 30 million. Lukic was 8 million, and he's been incredible. This season, I don't think I've ever seen him drop below a 7 out of 10 performance every single game.
I think it's the expectation as well. So even Raul Jimenez, absolute bargain. But we knew what he could do. Anderson, we know very well what he could do. Bassi, all these great signings. But with Sasa Lukic, I'll be honest, I'd never heard of him. Didn't know much about him when he turned up, a bit languid. I think he was used to the kind of... I do think Serie A is a very good league, but it's definitely slower.
Yeah.
It's not as... You need to be quite combative in the Premier League. And I thought he was way off it last season with that Chelsea cameo he made. It was just honking. And I thought, we spent 8 million on a dud here.
Yeah.
And then this is the Marco Silva. This is the Marco Silva narrative. He found a new position for him.
Yeah.
I think he was a bit kind of like an 8 or a 10.
Yeah.
An advanced 8, if you would call it that. But he's now like a kind of 6, combative 6, 8. And absolutely love him.
That Bergen-Lukic combo at the front too. I think you made this point. I think it might have been last week. I actually think I agree with you. I think it's now better than Joao Palhinha and Harrison Reed. I think it's testament Fulham's season as well. I mean, obviously, after Villa's draw yesterday, if we beat Palace on Saturday, we can go 4 points clear in terms of our push for Europe. But I think that we've lost Mitrovic, we've lost Palhinha, we've lost big players. I mean, I know people will laugh, but even like Willian, obviously it was great to see him get his little cameo off the bench. And actually, he should have scored. He laid off 2 really good chances where I thought, he should have just hit it. But we've lost some big names and big players over the years. And we've still kept up this consistency. I thought we'd have a huge drop off when Joao left. But in actual fact, we've actually done better this season. I think at this stage of the season, we're in a better place now than we were last season. And I look at Europe and I think, obviously, we didn't make signs with Willian. But if we do make Europe this season, it's all the more impressive because we've lost our star men and we still managed to keep hold of our momentum and our push in terms of fighting in and around those European places. So huge credit goes to Marco. And yet again, as you said, he's improved every player that's come to the club. Players like Stanley, players like Robinson. Before Robinson at Fulham. We love Robinson, but defensively wasn't good enough. Marcus come to the club. He's made him such a better defender. So credit to him in what has been another remarkable performance from us this season.
Well, I want to speak about a couple more player performances, but I think it's right to bring this up now. Joao Palhinha could be sold in the summer from Bayern. I think he was very much a Thomas Tuchel signing from Bayern. I think he would have fit really well into the Tuchel system. But Company just doesn't fit the Company mould. He hasn't been playing much. He got into the team, they got injured. Would you take him back in a hypothetical scenario? I don't know if we could necessarily afford it. But would you, just let's just say money's not an object here. Just as the player, would you take him back in the squad?
100%. Without question. Like, I love Sander Berg. He's brilliant. He's not Joao Palhinha. He just isn't. Like, if you had that, imagine you had a pivot of Lukic and Palhinha. I mean, it would be, I think, probably one of the best double pivots in the Premier League. Honestly, I know that's quite a bold statement. I know that like teams have got world-class players, but Joao with Lukic would be unreal. And then like Sander Berg off the bench just to like sort of calm things down a little bit as well.
What about all three?
Well, yeah. Well, then we lack a bit of that creative spark. That's the only problem.
Lukic in 10?
I would rather have a meal. I like Lukic. I haven't seen enough of Lukic going forward. He's not like a goal scorer or an assist provider. He's just like that engine in midfield. He's like a better Harrison Reed in terms of his legs and his energy. And even in the Forest game, towards the end, still running, still trying, still going for it, even though we're 2-0, still trying to protect our lead. And it's a credit to him. He's got, I think, a brilliant mindset. And obviously, we've got the internationals coming up in March. I just hope that when he plays for Serbia, he doesn't pick up an injury. Because I know that a few months ago, he did pick up a knock, was out for a couple of games. And I think our form really dipped a little bit. So fingers crossed that he's going to be okay. But Sasa Lukic, what a guy.
I thought that was just an interesting thing to bring up. Christ bless you. I thought
dust in this room.
We wouldn't get this in the patch.
Yeah, exactly.
I thought it was interesting to bring up. And let's be honest, like, just having a better squad, it would improve the squad so much. And if we do get Europe, touch wood, etc., like, we should be going all in for him if he's available. I think absolutely.
Yeah. Jesus, it's a hat trick of sneezes. And again, I think you're right. I think it's weird that Palhinha hasn't been utilised by Bayern Munich. I'm a bit concerned. Well, not concerned, but a bit like, because Joao at Fulham was unbelievable. He just hasn't really shown that at Bayern. I wonder maybe if he's difficult finding adaptation to the culture. Being at Bayern, obviously they've got players in that position, Goretzka, Kimmich, etc., who can do that. But I am surprised that Palhinha hasn't hit the heights at Bayern that I thought he was going to. I thought he was going to be that player to take Bayern defensively after the poor season they'd had with Leverkusen, take their defensive ability to the next level. But I would love to have Joao back at the club. But on the note of the result as well, John, back-to-back wins against Newcastle and Forest. We now turn our attention to Crystal Palace. We're now properly back in the hunt. I mean, I looked at these games. I looked at Newcastle, I looked at Forest, and I thought, we'd be lucky to get 4 points. We've got 6. Done incredibly well. And not just the performances in itself. Obviously, the results have been great, but the way that we've played, the way that we've conducted ourselves, I think has been magnificent. And now that Willian is back as well, let's just see how that progresses. But 2-1 against the Forest side. I mean, it should have been 3, it should have been 4. And we officially have won. We've taken the first dub in the Snapchat derby between Fulham and Forest. So you've got to take what you get. But moving on, Saturday, we are playing Crystal Palace. Now, Palace have been in pretty decent form, actually, recently. I read a statistic, actually. We haven't beaten Palace at home since 2005.
Yeah. Wow.
And we love a draw. We love a home draw against Crystal Palace. We've done it in back-to-back seasons. But Palace, of course, they were side at the start of the season. They really struggled with Glasner getting up poor results. Obviously, they had injury problems with Eze. But in the last few games, they've massively stepped it up. And one player that I have to talk about at Palace, Jean-Philippe Mateta. He has been insane this season. Where do you rate him in terms of... Mateta's like such an old-school Premier League striker, such a like bully target man. Just what are your thoughts on Mateta? Because he kind of struggled initially when he came from Palace on loan from Mainz.
I think he's great. He's a real throwback. Even just his kind of demeanour, and I love his celebration. I love the whole kind of boom boom. Mateta's in the room. It's brilliant. Do you know what I do like? I do like Palace as a club. There's no real kind of like beef there. There's no real rivalry. No real London clubs, but I do like Palace as a club, and I think their team is really fun, and Mateta kind of embodies that. I thought losing Elise, I think, has really stifled them this year. Do you remember how exceptional they were running last season? Maybe the season kind of ended too soon in a way because they were such a good rhythm. Then losing Elise, I think too much burden was put on Eze, and they struggled. Mateta struggled as well at the start of the season, and now he looks right back in the goals now. And I actually wanted to ask. I was thinking about this question. If Mateta, right, free agent, does he start for Fulham?
That is the
Raul
question.
Muniz? I think
That
it's
is the question.
I think he probably does.
I think he does.
I think he probably does.
He's younger. He's got a bit more pace. He's a bit stronger than Raul. But I'd still have Raul in the squad. I'd still have him on the bench to come off and make a difference. But Mateta, he has been cooking. He has been cooking recently and been brilliant. I also think as well, players like Ismail Assar have really stepped up. Munoz, their right wing back. Apparently Manchester United are really interested in him as well. I think he's excellent. And another signing that they've made, Maxence Lacroix, or as we used to know, I could have vibed. He apparently statistically has been one of the best defenders in the Premier League since his arrival. I think he's only second behind Van Dijk in terms of tackles, interceptions and clearances. And he's got that speed as well. So that was a signing that Palace made, which I think has gone under the radar, obviously because they lost Anderson to us. So they needed a proper replacement to play alongside Gahey. And he's done incredibly well. So Palace, they're always going to be one of those teams. They're always going to be finishing mid-table. Obviously, we've had a better season than them. They really struggled. But I'm a big fan of Oliver Glasner and his style of play. And I think, although in the reverse fixture, we comfortably beat them 2-0, Harry Wilson was on that goal-scoring run. And Emile Smith-Rowe, of course, got the opening goal as well. I think it's going to be a really challenging game. And Palace, they have that know-how to sort of grind out these draws in and around the teams playing mid-table. But maybe their 3-4-3 formation might suit for them, as we saw with the Forest game. The way that if Raul drops off and maybe draws out Lacroix, we get a Iwobi, and we try and get Adama against Tyreek Mitchell and Munoz on the right-hand side. I think it's going to be a really interesting one, but one that on paper, the thing is with us this season is you look at that on paper and think that should be a win, and we look at these Forest and Newcastle games and think, well, we're not going to win that. And then the opposites happen, so we'll just have to see. But the boys, it's important, I think, that we try and keep up our momentum.
Yeah, I just want to sort of talk about just Palace and their kind of league position. I was thinking about this, right? I was looking at the table. Obviously, Forest are getting headlines, rightly so. Still third in the Premier League is amazing. Bournemouth, also rightly so, getting headlines. And even though Fulham are having an amazing season, where it's currently sat 8th in the probably European spots, very close to Champions League spots, we're going under the radar because of those two teams.
100%.
And then if you look below in the kind of bottom half, you've got United and Spurs struggling. You've got a lot of narrative around kind of West Ham. I think for clubs like Palace, who's at 13th, and even Brentford to an extent, who are 11th, they just don't get talked about at all. Really, you don't really. There's not much narrative going on there, which I think is kind of interesting.
I agree. I feel like Fulham doesn't get. Maybe we just sound like moaning Fulham fans, but I just think that we don't get the recognition or reception. But in a slightly strange way, I'm quite glad that we don't. I'm quite glad that we're going on the radar. That no one's like bigging us up because
Silver as well.
And Silver as well, because people could be writing all these opinions like, oh, Fulham have been brilliant. And then other clubs will be looking at it going, oh, maybe we should take Silver, maybe we should take their players. So we are just quietly going about our business. And of course, Bournemouth, rightly plaudits, and Forest have been incredible. And actually, one thing that we didn't even mention about that game, Chris Wood, 18th goal of the season. What a career revival that man has had. Also, the goal in itself was the strangest thing I've ever seen. It just sort of like, the way he just nonchalantly just placed it into the left corner. It was just, it took a little nick off Bassett.
He bullied Robinson and Bassett.
Oh, it was borderline embarrassing. But these kind of like traditional target man strikers like Wood and Mateta are slightly coming back into the fore, which I really enjoy because I think a lot of the times Premier League's their biggest outlets and their best attackers are their wingers. And the role of the striker may have changed in recent years from the kind of traditional two up top. But it's really great when you see the likes of the Matetas, the Woods, the Raul Jimenez's, the kind of target men still doing their thing as well. But yeah, I think Fulham, we have really, really gone under the radar this season. And long may that continue. Just need to slowly keep picking up wins. And we've got a couple of tough games as well. I think what would be brilliant is if we are in a position, final game of the season, Brentford away. And if we win, we get Conference League football, we get European football. I mean, that, and then we beat them. It would just be
that's the last
absolutely
away
brilliant.
game. last away game.
Last away game.
City at home, final game.
Oh, that's right. Yeah.
I don't know what to make.
Well, who knows? Who knows? I mean, we gave him a hell of a game at the Etihad, so we'll just have to see.
It could go down to the wire, so that Fulham need a win to get 8th position, City need a win to get Champions League. It could be quite. Could be quite interesting.
Because you look at that fixture at the start of the season, you think, well, City are going to be in the title race, so could Fulham end their title bid on that day, or could something else happen? But no, I think Palace are a team that we shouldn't be underestimating. They've still got really good players. They've got a great manager. One thing that I always think goes on the radar is, Glasner won the Europa League not even that long ago with Frankfurt. He is a really tactically brilliant manager, and I know it was against Rangers, and I know that they won on penalties, but still, Frankfurt hadn't won a European trophy in, I think it was something like 47 years. So he is a really good manager, and him and Marco Silva are very tactically minded and quite similar in their style of players. But Palace, every time we play them at home, I'm always just expecting a draw or a loss. I mean, we haven't won there. We haven't won at home against them in 2005. Obviously, I know we've been in the Championship, and I feel like Palace and Fulham have always missed each other. We've been in the Prem when they were in the Championship, and then as soon as they got promoted, we dropped out. So we haven't played them actually that many times.
Yeah.
But our record against them, it's not exactly pretty viewing, but hopefully on Saturday we can make a bit of history. It'll be 20 years.
Yeah, I always seem to remember that kind of the yo-yo period of Fulham, from 2018 to kind of 2022, where it was up and down. Palace just always seems to just be that game. It was like, for God's sake, like not again, kind of thing. But how do you, from Fulham perspective, how do you think Saturday will go? Do you think they'll frustrate us? Because I think there's a criticism potentially of this Fulham side that they don't get up for these kind of games. Kind of like a 13th place Palace side, 3 o'clock kickoff. We like the, I was going to say United, we lost twice to them. Yeah. You know what I mean? Like the kind of big, the Liverpools, the Spurs, we like the kind of big games under the lights or whatever. How do you see this game going?
Well, we've got to show that we're not having any complacency heading into the game. I completely agree with you. I think we're going to, I'm always optimistic. I feel like I say every week we're going to win. But I do think that we will. I don't think it's going to be, I think it'll be a harder game than the Forest game, strangely. Yeah. Even though Forest are a better side. They're better in the league. Palace, I think they'll be out to frustrate us. They'll be sitting up defensively deep. They've got the pace of Lacroix and Gahey to kind of track back. That's my concern. Raul doesn't have the legs. Their centre-backs do. When you looked at Nottingham Forest, okay, Murillo's got pace, but Milinkovic has got no pace at all. So it kind of, for Raul, it's a bit of an easier centre-back to be coming up against. But I do think we're going to win. I think it could be like a 3-2 kind of situation. I feel like Palace will get a couple of goals. I'm worried about Mateta. I am, and I'm worried about Ismail Assar. But the thing I think is with Palace, obviously it's easy for me to say this, but you stop Mateta, you stop Palace. Like
what is it?
He is or Eze, but he is their main man in terms of their goal scoring, especially this season. He is the one that's going to be trying to get them over the line. So I think Fulham have got to make sure that Anderson and Bassi double up on Mateta. Make sure that Munoz, the wing backs, don't get the balls into the box because Mateta's just so deadly in the air. And I think we will get 3 points. But on the flip side, they've got to be worried about us. We've already beaten them this season, so they know what they're expecting. We know what we need to do. Obviously, we don't have Harry Wilson in the side, but Adama, hopefully, that game against Forest, he can now kick on and consistent. We want to be watching that Adama every single week. We want to be watching that kind of performance from Fulham, the Smith Rowe, what he was doing on the pitch as well, every single week. And I think that on our day, we are better than Palace on their day. So I could see it being a 3-2. What are you thinking?
I'm a bit optimistic this week.
Yes.
I'm thinking a 3-1.
3-1?
And I'll tell you how it's going to happen.
Tell me.
We're going to score first.
Yep.
In the first half. Raul Jimenez is due a goal.
He loves it.
Then Mateta is going to equalise just after half time. We love it.
Oh yeah, we do love a little 45-60 job.
We love it. And then someone will score. Any goal scorer will score like shortly after that. Then Palace are going to really come close and hit the bar a couple of times. They're going to be really pushing for that equaliser, and then we'll hit him on the counter. It won't be at the death.
I've got a question for you. Do you think that Willian should be getting a start, or do you think or even a case of he should be getting brought on earlier? Because we saw him make an appearance, but he was on for about 5 minutes. Yeah. The crowd gave a fantastic reception for him, and obviously rightly so. Would you like to see Willian start in this game?
Well, I forgot to speak about Willian in the Forest section. It was so good to see him come on.
Brilliant.
He was taking the nick when he came on. So do you know what I mean? Like when you're kind of seeing out a 2-1 win, he's the perfect player to bring on. You're kind of on that right side, just flicking the ball around with sort of ease,
winning fouls.
He's on a different IQ, football IQ to the rest of the team and the opposition at this level. He's unbelievable. Would I start him? Not yet. I don't think Iwobi's done anything necessarily to be dropped, but I mean, what a player to bring on. He's kind of like Kearney in a way. You can kind of bring him on in any situation. If you're holding a lead, you can bring him on to calm it down. Or if you're chasing a goal, you're down and you can create something out of nothing. So yeah, 100%. What about you? Would you start him?
I think, similar to you, I think it'd be good to see him, if we're winning a game, come on the pitch, make a couple of lovely little magical touches, flicks around the corner, winning fouls, etc. But for them, we've just got to make sure, because we do love a little 2-1 and then we're sort of holding on into the end. We had a little bit of that against Forest, even though they didn't really create, except for Hudson-Odoi, they didn't create many second half openings. But I'd like to see Willian definitely come on around, because I sometimes think that Marco makes changes really late. It's like 70th minute, we haven't made a single sub. I kind of like to see Willian come on a little bit sooner. And also, especially if I think Willian's a kind of player where if we're getting frustrated by Palace, we can't break through their defence. We need a little moment of magic or someone with thinking outside of the box, making that kind of, that risky pass. Willian is the guy to do it. And he's probably the only player in the Fulham team, especially on the wing perspective, who can make those kind of passes.
Right, so to wrap up, should we go for our lineups?
Big time.
What do you reckon? I think it's...
I'm going to be honest with you, it's a really simple one. It's unchanged.
Unchanged.
Totally unchanged. I'm not dropping anyone from that performance. And also one thing I've got to mention as well, Calvin Bassey.
Yes, yeah.
Getting his first goal for the club, I think.
This season.
Yeah. And I loved his little celebration as well. You see how much it meant to him. Great set piece goal. I think, is that one of the first set piece goals we haven't scored many from set pieces.
But I thought against Newcastle.
Absolutely, the one against Newcastle.
There's been a couple, but
But in terms of from a corner as well, from a corner perspective.
That's maybe the second or third.
Probably around that. Yeah. I will say this though, credit to Traore. Brilliant little header across. And from where I was sitting as well, as soon as Bassey headed it back across the goal, you knew, you celebrated before it even hit the back of the net, you knew it had gone in. And finally, Matt Sells, he's been incredible.
Oh, what performance he had.
Forest, he was incredible.
Unbelievable.
But yeah, I think lineups, they're self-explanatory. I mean, the only thing I'd say is if we're trying and win the game, maybe bring on the Kearneys, maybe bring on the Willians of the world, and we'll try and break it down. But I do love Palace, and I have to say their away support is exceptional as well. They've got really good fans.
Yeah. Do you know what I think a good place to wrap up on is just a quick Bassey tribute this season, because I think if any player deserves a goal over this whole season, really, it's Calvin Bassey. Just not only because he's an absolute warrior on the pitch. Do you know what? I'm going to say this as well. I think we're going to do well to keep him next time.
You think?
I think he's got all the attributes.
How much do you think he's worth? 50? 50 million?
I don't think he'd go for 50.
Or 40?
I think 35, 40.
Yeah,
I think.
35 and 40. But no, I credit to Calvin. Firstly, I love his little Snapchat antics. Yeah. Seems like a good lad. Brilliant player, really quick, good on the ball, strong. I feel like he has so many attributes. I think that sometimes clubs don't want to go for Bassey because he has like one or two mistakes in him in a season. Maybe, give the ball away. He has dropped like one or two clangers in games. But overall, he is a brilliant player. And him and Anderson have struck up and actually particularly him and Robinson on that left side, struck up a really good partnership. And I think the one thing that goes under the radar about Bassey is his passing, his ability to get the ball and make a pass that will take out their whole attacking line and giving it to the Sanderbergs and the Lukic who spin for then our counter-attacks to go out wide. So credit to Bassey, he's been brilliant. And obviously, who can forget that amazing run at Stamford Bridge? I mean, if he'd scored that goal, that would have been one of the greatest goals, I think, in Fulham history. Iconic.
I agree with that. But it's not even just on the pitch, it's just off the pitch. Like, you follow like Iwobi and Bassey on Snapchat, and even just the stuff the club puts out, he just seems like just the most likeable guy. You look at like a big ball of energy.
Exactly.
And, we want to see more of that. Like, you see as well, like every single player wanted to celebrate with him. After which, you're just telling to like what top bloke he is.
Exactly. That wraps up today's slightly different episode with a bit of a different background. Apologies again to the listeners and viewers of Craven Chronicles podcast. I'm forever grateful to be joined by Jon. Jon, thank you very much for today, my friend.
It's been a pleasure. Glad you're feeling better.
I am feeling much better. Next week, we will be looking back on the Palace game. Then we've got a rather strange Tuesday trip to Wolverhampton Wanderers. Can we get our revenge after a 4-1 thrashing? And we'll be also looking ahead to with Manchester United? Can we also get our revenge on the Red Devils? Thank you so much for listening. Make sure to drop us a like and a follow. And as always, up the Fulham.